In my manager days, I used to ask my direct reports every once in a while in our tag ups and our one-on-one tag ups, what do you want to do next? And I genuinely wanted to know because it made my job a lot easier. If I knew what they wanted to do, I could better position them in the company for success, make them happy even maybe. But the majority of responses I got were this: I don't know. And I think it was kind of frustrating because I think what most people are waiting for is someone to tell them what to do next. You start your life as a kid and your parents tell you everything you need to do. You go to school, then your teachers tell you everything to do. They assign you homework and everything. You go to college, now you have professors telling you what to do and what classes you need to take next. And then you get a job, and it's just a continuation of college where your boss is telling you what to do next. Here's your homework, go do it. And you follow this rail. So a lot of people genuinely don't know what they want to do because they've never been asked that question and they've never really had to think about it. They just follow the rail. Some of the responses I got were framing it, instead of want, it was should. It's like, what should I do next? Which is a dangerous recipe because now you're trying to tailor your answer to fit some mold or some predetermined role that you think you should want. So for instance, if you are at, say, a level, you have levels in your company, you're at a level 2. Maybe your response to that is, well, I should want to get a promotion so that I can go to a 3, or I should want to go work on this other project over here. So they don't frame it in terms of what they want. They themselves, the individual, they frame it in terms of what's best for the company or wherever they're working. And then a few outliers were the do everythings. They had their answers, well, I want to go do this, and I want to go do that, and I want to go this, and I want to go do that, and I want to go this. And I can totally relate to those folks. Those are very hard to please. You got to narrow it in. And we'll talk a bit about that in a bit. So when I placed this question on myself, because I think everybody should place the question on themselves, and I'm going to give you some tips how you can answer it later and why you should answer it. I think that initially I was always thinking in terms of should. I was always framing it in should. What should I do next? And it was really like, well, I'm an engineer. I'm a software engineer now. I've got 15 years of experience. I'm kind of like capped out there. I don't know where to go next. Well, the next step is to just be a manager. So go be a manager, which is what I did. And it was fine for a while, but then it became just another freaking job. And that's not a way to answer the question. You need to answer it for what you want to do, not what job roles are out there that you think you'd be a good fit for or that you'd want to experiment with, but what do you want to do? If you could do anything. So then when I realized this, I started reframing the question and putting a little qualifier in the front of it. If I knew I couldn't fail, what would I want to do next? And that kind of opens the boundaries, is because this limitation that we put on ourselves, we either frame it as a should, or we're thinking, well, we can't do certain things because there's a high failure rate, or we don't believe in ourselves. And for me, the answer when I put that qualifier in front of it was YouTube. I can get lost doing these YouTube videos. When I'm editing, the time will pass. I'll forget to eat. I'll forget to poop. I'll forget to do everything. Or music. Music is another thing. You get in, you're recording, you're writing songs, and you're editing, you're building your songs out. I can get lost in that activity. So those are my two answers. We'll talk about practicality in a few minutes. So I want to turn the question over to you now. I want you to ask yourself, what do you want to do next? And some tips for this is look at the things that you have done in the past or that you're currently doing that you also get lost in. What are things that you do that you just don't know that time is passing and that you look up and say, oh crap, it's so-and-so time. Now I got to go do this other thing. It's the things that even others don't really like to do, but you actually enjoy doing. Make a list. I want you to write all these things down. And so also look at your job, your current job or your past jobs. Doesn't really matter. What are the things that you have done in those jobs or are currently doing in your job that you enjoy the most? What things are just easy to you? What things do you actually look forward to, if any? Maybe there's nothing there, but open your horizons a bit. Look inside yourself if you're struggling to answer this question. And again, make a big list. Now, when you have the list, I want you to think about what is the true realm of possibility. There's going to be a lot of things on there, if you're doing this exercise right, that you want to do that are probably just not that possible. For instance, if you wrote down, oh, I want to be an NBA superstar, and you're 40 years old and you're 5'6", that's probably not in the realm of possible. Probably never was in the realm of possible. So scratch that off the list. But also, while you're scratching it off, think about why you want that. What are the reasons that you want to be an NBA superstar? And maybe you can find the essential elements within that thing that kind of point you in a different direction where you can get the same, I don't know what term to use, like feel-good juice out of that thing that you would get if you were an NBA superstar, but just applied to a different realm that you can actually do. Maybe it's you want to show off your talents or whatever. Maybe that's the reason that you want to be an NBA superstar. What other talents do you have that you can show off? Maybe you're a great artist. Maybe you're a great drawer, a pencil drawer. Maybe that's the thing that you should do next. And also think about, and after you kind of whittle your list down to the realm of possible, I want you to rank them. Rank the things. Like if you could do just one thing on that list, what would it be for the rest of your life? You can't do any of the other ones. You can only do one. What would it be? I'm going to sneeze. I'm not going to sneeze. I'm not going to sneeze. So once you have that one thing identified, the next thing I want you to do is what can you do right now, right after you watch this, to get started doing that thing? What's one small action you can do to get started making your way towards that thing? So I realize this question is hard to answer. I realize that it's difficult, and it can be difficult because we're all conditioned. We all went to school. We all got degrees. We all have been following the rules our entire lives. And that hasn't changed once you enter the workforce. It's just an extension of school is all it is. So we were all conditioned to base what we want, like individually, around what the capitalists offered to us. It is the canned off-the-shelf job roles that we tend to focus on when we're trying to answer this question. And I want you to try and step outside of that realm when you're asking yourself this, to think of a broader scope, not just a job role, but what else can you do? And it's also hard to answer because I think we put a lot of focus, and we're kind of trained to do this. We put a lot of focus on trying to instill meaning in the work we do. Like the work we do has to mean something. It has to have a point. It has to, lead to some positive outcome in the world or whatever. It has, in the grander scope of things in my life, if I do this job, then it means whatever that is. And I'm here to tell you that life is meaningless. I hate to break it to you, but it's meaningless. There is no point. This is the point. You're living the point of life right now, regardless of what you're doing. And no job, no work, nothing. Answering this question is not going to instantly provide you with meaning because it doesn't exist. So optimize for what you can get out of the work that you would like to do. And maybe you don't believe in yourself. Maybe this question is hard is because you don't believe that you're capable of doing the things that you want to do. And in some instances, you're right, like the NBA superstar thing. You're not going to be an NBA superstar. That's reserved for only a very tiny fraction of a percentage of the population that fit. They got to fit very narrow criteria in order to just get to that level. But for other things, you got to believe in yourself a little bit. You got to bet on yourself. Look, up until this point in your life, you've handled everything, right? You're still alive. You're watching this with your two meat socket balls in your head. You know, you've done something right? You're still here. So believe in yourself, God damn it, and figure out what you want to do. So I'm going to close with, it's important to know, at least have an idea of what you want to do next so that you can start doing it. You know, you're not getting younger. So it's time to start acting on the things that you want to do that you think you might actually be good at. And do the homework. I want you to do the questions. Go rewatch it if you need to and answer those questions and tell me the thing that you settled on in the comments below. I want to know. I'm interested in these things. And you know, when you're ready, you go watch this next video here. It's the 4 things that you should do if you're facing your career cliff. Pretty important. So come on, let's go do this. See you next time.